Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. It is that time. Whew, it is Sunday morning. We are here for a live stream, ready to have a good time, talk a lot of real estate, answer a lot of questions, the usual, what we always come together to do on Sunday mornings. And yeah, I'm sorry. I see this clip. Somebody was apparently in my office moving things around, or my studio / office / whatever else you want to call it. We're here to do work here this morning, everybody. As you guys know, I am the Lumberjack landlord. And as you see in the title, it's time to talk about how much landlords suck and how it should be illegal. So I have had the honor of being published, I don't know, 5 or 6 times in Business Insider, and super honored for that. I won't lie, as a investor, as a creator, it's one of those things where it's cool because they then view it as, hey, clearly this person has a story to tell. And I think that, often the tilt that's taken is it's a story that can encourage people and help people. And then my good buddy Dion decided to link me to the story that was just released on Facebook. And I was shocked and amazed at how angry everybody gets. But I wanted to talk about that today. Landlords suck. It should be illegal. So I saw a ton of comments, and if you want a good laugh, admittedly, my comments are rude back to people. You guys know me well enough to know at this point that I suffer no one. And if you're going to take a shot, I'm going to shoot back. But I was surprised at the number of people. There were people literally saying that I should be shot, saying that I should be hung, saying that I should die. There were all of these things in these notes on Facebook. Now, at the end of the day, I'm a pretty thick-skinned individual. I really just don't care what people like that have to say. For giggles, I have a couple canned responses, admittedly. And the idea is sometimes for it to trigger them. And most of the time, the responses are meant to elicit information or elicit a response. And so one of the things that I often sign off on when I put a post like that, where everybody's being very controversial and very aggressive, is I always thank them for being renters. The reason that I do that is because I'll let the secret out. The reason that I do that is because I want to see if they're owners or renters. I believe that people that own things and people that go to the position where they're trying to own things, I believe they have a different mentality. I believe they have a different mindset. I believe that they are truly, in every sense of the word, people who like to own things as people who only like to use things. Often cases when you go to own something, you are having to be disciplined, save up money. You're having to be disciplined and do research. You're having to be disciplined and understand exactly what the pros and cons are to something like this. So what I find really interesting is that in all of the responses I made and all the times I said, P.S. your rent's due, or hey, don't forget your rent's late, all of those responses are used to elicit a response. And I can tell you, in all of the posts that I made, which was well over 100, I had 2 people respond back that they were owners. 2 out of 100. So what does that tell me? That tells me, likely, that most of them are in fact renters, that most of them don't understand the principles of investing, whether it's real estate or anything else, and that most of them don't understand what it takes day one to be a landlord. So they view it as you don't really add any value. So let's go to the next degree of this conversation, which is it should be illegal. Okay, so let's just follow that path of logic. So because I put myself in a financial position where I can buy a home that I then rent out to people and I then make money off of it, that makes me evil. That makes me wrong. That makes me doing the wrong thing. So I understand that they believe that it comes to that conclusion. But that's believing that I'm not providing a service. Whereas most other landlords, and I think you guys will agree, when you are a landlord, you do own it, but it is also work, whether it's a broken pipe or fixing a roof or making sure the yard's done or making sure the snow plowing's taken care of. When something breaks, they don't take on the liability and the time effort of having to take care and address those items. They pick up the phone and they call a landlord. It's a use model, just like a lease on a car. So I find it interesting because, again, it really serves to the mentality of owners own and renters rent. Now, if you're rarely going to use something, it makes sense to rent it. If you're often going to use something, it makes sense to own it. So I believe that housing largely falls into that bucket of having to use. So let's take it a step further. We were poor growing up. We didn't have a ton of money. I remember having steak one time, and it absolutely, it made a single tear roll down my cheek having steak. I was like, this is wonderful. So wonderful. And so I didn't get angry and yell at the restaurant that they needed to make the steak more affordable so I could have it. I also didn't go yell at the farmer and say, what right do you have to raise that cow, feed it all the time and do all the work, slaughter it, and then put it at the butcher so I can then have the steak? What right do you have to make any money off that? That is obscene. You are evil. Or how about grocery stores? They say that housing is required. Housing is needed to live. Well, so is food. So are you walking into grocery stores and picketing grocery stores because they're selling food? Like, this is the absurd logic that many people had on that message board. Somehow that I am intrinsically evil. It's intrinsically evil to own. Let me help you with something. If you are not a landlord and don't aspire to be a landlord, I'm cool with that. You go your way, I'll go mine. No big deal. One of the things that we like to do as being part of the solution is we like to take dilapidated homes or homes that, quite frankly, haven't been touched or taken care of in decades. We like to go through them, gut them, make them nice, clean, and make it a place where somebody can actually call a home. Because 69% of Americans still live paycheck to paycheck. They will largely be in a position where they won't be able to afford what it takes to buy a home, even though in most markets, it's a less than $15,000 deposit. $15,000. $15,000 is a lot of money. It's a lot of money to a lot of people. But if you're disciplined, you can absolutely get there. In fact, I would challenge you that almost anyone can get $15,000 in savings in a year. Almost anybody, if you just do what it takes to get there. That's because that's what I did. I had to do what it took to get there. That's how it goes. And so one of the things that I would tell all the folks that are landlords is don't sweat it. They speak of what they do not know. I'm not offended by all the silliness that they say. When they call for me to be killed because I'm a landlord, okay, so you're mentally deficient. Not my fault. It is what it is. People are going to poo-poo. People don't like others having more than they have, even though the others, us here in this group, spend a lot of our time, our free time, figuring out ways that we can A, take care of our family better and get further ahead so we can spend more time with our family. B, we invest in something. And C, largely, a lot of us like to help other people. And what's the best way that we can do that? It's actually by having a nice unit, renting it out. And sure, does it create an income? Absolutely, it does. Is it zero work? Of course it isn't. My ability with my credit or with the money that I've created or with the effort that I've put forth, all of those things are worth something. And if you don't want to be a landlord and don't want to do that, sure, don't do it. It's fine. But then you're going to be a renter. And if it's, I only care about my family and I just want a house for us, that's cool. It's fine. I just like to help people. And you know what? I've never seen a poor person give money away. Not ever seen it. Never seen a poor person be able to do a food drive. Not seen it. Not ever. Not even once. I've never seen a lot of these things. So while all these other people want to sit in there with righteous indignation and tell me that as a landlord, I'm somehow evil, I would invite them, come spend an afternoon with me. And why don't you see exactly how evil I am? Because I'd be willing to bet you I help more people in one day than you probably help all year. And that's where I think that, largely speaking, a lot of social media can be an absolute cesspool and toilet. I always am excited when people get their next job or deal or whatever it is when they get their next building. I'm always excited for them. I think it's great. I think it's awesome because I know what it takes to get one done. Now, we can all have opinions on what's the best way to do it and all that other stuff. That's all good. We all know the best way to manage it is my course, which boot camp starts today. I'm excited for that, everybody. But these are the things that you guys need to consider. Take it in stride. Don't sweat it. People are going to hate more successful people every day of the week. I cannot believe the statements that I saw on there and how unintelligent some of them were. I'll leave you with this. One of the things that I did, somebody was on there and they actually had a goal for wounded warriors. And I'm a big, big fan of our veterans. I'm a big fan of active service. I'm a big fan of people that sign on the line, which is dotted to serve our country. I'm a big fan of them. And so I've done a lot for veterans and for veterans organizations. Not going to go through the details, but this one specific one, I work with a lot of charities. And one of the things that charities do is they actually have people pledge how much they're going to give. And that helps the charity better understand, okay, this is what we're going to be able to do based on our pledges. So they actually take that as somebody saying, hey, I'm making a commitment to go out there and drive revenue to get you to the goal that I said I would get to. They didn't call me and say, this is your goal. I reached out to them as a charity and said, this is my goal. So one of these such people was in the group. And I looked at his Facebook page because he was always talking about giving. And what I found very ironic was 4 years ago, he had pledged $200 to the Wounded Warrior Project. I'm a big fan of them. I think they do an amazing job. And so he pledged $200 to the Wounded Warrior Project. And I saw that in 4 years, he had been able to muster $46. All the people he knows, all the connections that he has, all the work that he does, he had only gotten $46 out of his 200. So I thought that that was a perfect opportunity to teach a life lesson. I gave the remainder of his pledge because I know Wounded Warriors needs it. And I know the work that they do is honorable. So I gave the $200. I gave his entire goal. And I reached out to him and I said, hey, setting goals, putting that out there, putting that you're going to be responsible for $200 to this organization. It's important, but you need to actually follow through. So here, let me show you what investment in real estate actually helps do. It helped me give 4 times what you gave with the click of a button. Because I run a business, it's successful, there are profit, and more importantly, it went to people that actually truly needed it. But there's a lack of follow through. And that, what was most interesting to me was his response back wasn't, thank you. His response back was, hey, well, we disagree. It's really cool that you completed that. It was, I would have rather you given to one of the other charities that I'd represented. Well, you know what? That just makes you an a-hole. So at the end of the day, be encouraged. What we do here is for good, and it's for the good of not just ourselves, but also of our renters and our tenants. Make sure you're on the good side of the ledger. I don't like landlords, and I'll speak against landlords all day long, that have a bad model, which is what I call the slumlord model, which is they're buying an asset and the only goal there is profit, profit, profit. That's the only goal. And regardless, they just continue to raise rents and they don't do any of the work around the place. Not a fan of those landlords. In this group, and what we do and what I teach in my course, is how to be a responsible landlord. We take care of issues. We're proactive. We're forward thinking. And we want to get great tenants. But the reason I put that dumpster up there as the sign on for, or as the thumbnail for this, on Instagram and on Facebook, the reason I use that dumpster is That's how I got treated as a landlord. Tenants refuse to buy the town bags that they sell for put their trash in. They refused to get them. So what did they do? They would go out to their second floor deck and they would drop a big black trash bag in the back. That's what they did. We asked them, we sent them letters, we sent them all sorts of things. When we asked the city to get involved, the city was like, nope, that's a landlord issue. This is the kind of thing that we had to look forward to. So I think what's really crazy in this whole thing is people don't respect landlords. They don't think it's a job. They don't really care about your units in large part. And so at the end of the day, the only thing that we can do is make sound invest in our tenants, which is to make the place nice and make the place continue to keep the place up. And that we have to play by a set of rules, but it's also incumbent upon us to play by the set of the rules that we set forth in the lease, to make sure that our property is not being damaged, to make sure that they're doing their part as a tenant. And if not, we need to do our follow through and ensure that that gets taken care of. So I said a lot in the last 14, 15 minutes, and now we'll get into questions, but hopefully this was helpful to you guys and encourages you that, again, as a landlord, we have responsibilities, but so do tenants. I don't believe that owning property is evil. I do believe I provide a service. And it's something that, again, a majority of my tenants, I think if you called up 10 of my tenants, I think 9 of them would say, yeah, he's a good landlord. And I think one of them, I wouldn't be able to please no matter what I did. I know that I have a few of those on my list. So be encouraged. Have a fantastic week. And we're going to jump into some questions here for you guys. Dion, thank you for the super chat, my man. Good morning. Every time you hit the like button, an angel gets its wings. That's true. I have confirmed that. Brian Beck, please update us on your lead paint removal experience. So Brian, we are making progress. What we actually did was, in this particular case, it's been a longer process. And the reason, the reason for that is after they send a state inspector out to confirm, the lead, that there is lead present, which there's going to be lead present in any property that was built before 1978. And seeing as how I only own one property that was built since 1978, there's going to be lead there, guaranteed. We don't test for it because that makes us liable for it. And so it's basically just part of the process. If you were to try and lead-free every home in New Hampshire, it would bankrupt everybody. I mean, the only people that would be rich would be the contractors, because you couldn't afford an affordable rent to put somebody in there after you do a lead project, because often it's usually about $20,000 to $25,000 per unit to do a lead project. So that being said, because we rent out to people that need affordable housing, i.e. income, and we don't just do income based on what Section 8 will pay or housing will pay, we actually do have some units that are what we would call dated, but they're still nice. They're very clean. And we are able to do those at lesser of a cost because we don't have a higher cost basis because we haven't gone through the entire building. And so because of that, we do some of these types of rentals. And so what's really interesting is that income qualification, we do them because we know that we need the 3X rule and that we know that we need people that pay on time, that have good credit. And so we do these type of, now these types of units are what make themselves available because they can qualify. So on the lead side of things, there is something in most states. In our state, we have something called a grant program. The grant program is something that's actually funded federally. And because that grant is funded federally, they will actually do a review, not of the landlord's financials, but they'll actually do a review of the tenant's financials. Because again, we're setting our rents based on it trying to be an affordable unit. So one of the really cool things was we went through that process. Our rents were considered what is called FMR, fair market rents. They were actually, one was below and one was also slightly below. So they were both right about, one was just under and one was significantly below market rents. So we had actually gone through that process of then applying for the grant. It took about 60 to 90 days or so. The most difficult part was working with our tenants to get all of their financials together. so they could then send that as that part of the package that actually goes to the grant program. So I'll do a longer video on that, but we haven't even started the project yet. Haven't even started the project yet. They were 90 days in. They had all the 90 days in, they had all the information. Still took about 60 days for us to get the answer back. But we got the answer back, and now we go through to do a full on, basically what's called a scope of work, where they're going to go into the unit and touch every surface and then create a report and say, here's everything that needs to be replaced. And then based on that, they'll then put that out to bid to people that service the grant, which there's about a half a dozen of those guys in the state. And they will weigh in on, they will give a fixed price bid of this is what it's going to cost to do this. And then we'll take a look at the bids. We'll work with the state. We'll take a look at the bids, and then we're going to get creative, because I know some things that we shouldn't do as part of a lead order, and some things that we should do differently. They don't care because they just want to get paid. But I have ways that we can do it less expensively. So hopefully, I know it's going to cost me more than the grant, but it will at least, even though it will cost me more than the grant, I will still be in a good position to get the work done and do the work myself, or either myself or with one of the grant program guys. We're going to try and get certified so we can do it, but that's part of the talking process once we see what the thing is that comes back. So that is the update. Kip SOS, good morning. Family as well. Thank you very much for asking. Yep, I'm making sure you didn't ask another question. Nope. Okay. Brian Breck, the properties you primarily purchase are old and more than likely have lead-based paint somewhere in them. They all have it, period. Yep. When you purchase a new property, do you remove all the lead paint right away? Nope, I don't. It's the catch-22. If I immediately go in and it's always doors, windows, baseboard, the window sashes, it's all of it. It could be the paint outside as well. To de-lead a unit in most cases is between $20,000 and $30,000. 20 and 30 grand. Ripping out baseboard, ripping out, and then the way you have to get rid of it and the whole 9 yards. Yeah, it's expensive. It's a very expensive proposition, 20 to 30,000 bucks. Now, if I spend that $20 to $30,000, do I get that much more money in rent? Nope. Maybe a couple $100 a month. How bad of an investment is that for me, right? So we don't jump in there and just start eliminating lead all over the place. It really just depends, though. It depends on the building. It depends on if we're going to rehab it. A lot of stuff that we buy, once the tenant that's there has left, a lot of that stuff we'll try and rehab. But yeah, inherently in our area, in the Northeast, everything built but before 1979 is going to have lead in it. So if that's the case, then that means probably about 80% of our construction is that old. 80, maybe 90% of our construction is that old. Makes it impossible. And that's why the state will do about 300 lead cases this year where there will be rehab involved, about 300 of them. There are 18,000 homes in the city of Manchester alone that have a lead issue. Yeah. Yeah. So real quick math, you're going to basically do about 3 a year. Well, there you go. You're going to do about 3 a year. I mean, you can even make it, if you got 18,000, then you're talking about, you're going to be 20 years if they only focused. Yeah, no, 300 a year, 200 years. Yeah, it's going to be up there. It's going to be a lot of years. Yep. Yep. No, 20 years. Yeah. What do we got? 20. Yeah. Cause you're doing about 18. So you're doing 3 times. Yeah. 60, about 60 years, 60, 70 years. Sorry. A little tired. Got a cold too. But yeah, they're never going to get to the problem. They're never going to get there ever, ever, ever. And the issue is that it's screaming out of both sides of your mouth. We want affordable housing, but we want it all completely free of lead. What can you do? If I spend $30,000 on each unit times 3 units in a triplex, and or even 25, I'm 75,000 bucks. I'm into that triplex, and I'm going to make an extra $600 a month. $7,200 a year. I'm 10 years in and I've not made an extra dime. I've not made a dime. Like the math just doesn't work. So, and especially for newer investors, but like I said, we want affordable units. The minute that we do all that work, it makes it unaffordable. And it's usually $300 to $400 a month over what housing will pay. So then it's a loss. It's not only the money that you're not going to get, but it makes it a bad fiscal decision. And while everybody wants to be and do the right thing for everyone, obviously we do, but to what end? Bankruptcy? Can't do it. For what it's worth. I know this does look like a moonshine bottle, doesn't it? Ironwood? Yeah, it's not. Nope. I leave that to Dion. That's just pure 300 foot out of the ground. H2O. Let's see. I'll try and let me see here. Holy cow. Yeah, I'm way behind. I'm gonna have to pick up from where I left off. Sorry, guys. But I'll do what I see on the screen. Jackie, yes, jealousy never creates success. You're exactly right. It only hinders. Listen, they're the ones I appreciate the free rent that they gave me in their head. They're thinking about me. I don't think about them at all. I think about my family. I think about my tenants. I think about you guys who are in this doing the work with us. And together you're on your journey. I'm on mine. Iron sharpening iron. I don't think about the people in the parking lot. That ain't my job. I'm not here to convince people to become a landlord. Do it. Don't do it. Don't care. If you want to be the best at it, watch somebody who's amazing. This guy. Data Hedge Capital. What's up, Lumberjack? What's up? Hope all's well. The family. Family's good. Yeah. Having coffee with Cody and Christian tomorrow. Any advice? No, they're good guys. I don't think any advice. Yeah, I don't think any advice. Anything that they're going to tell you, I think is content on their site anyway, like content like I create or when we do interviews together. I wouldn't say any advice. I would say if you have a couple things that you're dealing with question wise, I maybe bring a couple questions. I wouldn't bring 10 or 20. I'd bring a couple if there's something that you really want an answer to. Terry Balu. Lead paint, soffit, fascia, window trims, doors, interior trim, toys in the attic. Haha. Exactly. Chinese toys. And I'm not calling out on China. I'm just saying most of their toys have proven that they have lead in them because lead is a good product. It helps in the manufacturing of things. Lead paint is, how many times have you driven past a house that has lead paint on it or that was painted 30 years ago and you're like, that thing's the same color it was. There you go. It's the lead in the paint. But yeah, all that stuff, everything. Keith Hager, how many lives do you, missed it. How many lives do you give shelter? Yep. How many jobs are you creating? How many students do you pay to teach schools? Yep. How many potholes have you paid to fill? So Keith Hager, I've done some of those numbers. So here's what I can tell you. My own tax bill, my tax bill for our properties actually supports 5 policemen, and it supports 8 children's educations. 5 policemen and 8 children's educations. Yep. And there's still money out there that's from other stuff, but those are the things that I know what they cost. Specifically, the cost it takes us to send a kid to school, and the cost of a cop, in our town, because that stuff is published. The fireman stuff isn't so much published. It's harder to find. But yeah, 5 cops, 8 kids every year, 8 kids, and that 8 kids is actually a net. Oh no, it's 12 kids. Sorry, 12 kids, 5 cops. Those 12 kids, that's actually a net. Depending, it's usually up and down. It's a net positive, net negative. It depends. Because kids are very expensive to send to schools, in public schools, especially in our area. Very expensive. Potholes, I don't think they use any of my money to fill up potholes. People, it's brutal. But yeah, Yep. 5 cops, 12 kids. And that's just the parts of the budget that I know my money goes to. I don't know about the other stuff. So yeah, that's exactly right, Keith. They forget that my taxes, even though someone's paying me rent, that my taxes send their kids to school, pay the teachers, pay the school, pay the facilities. Yeah. It's because they don't understand economics or how the economy works. Tony Rosa. Hey, Tony. In this scarce vacancy rental market, have you ever accepted a tenant that pays in full upfront cash or too risky or liability? I have the one that I did it once. They were exchange students, and that's the way that they were set up. They didn't want to create a transaction every month, and I said that's fine. So I got paid up front a year. I've had a few other people offer it, but I haven't done it. And the reason that I haven't done it is because they wanted a discount, and I'm not going to give them my discount. All right. Sorry, landlord issue taken care of. So yeah, so I don't think that the only liability might be you'd have to check with your state law. I would ask an attorney what the liability might be if you do take all their money up front. I would believe, I don't know if you'd have to return it if you had to evict them. I know that I make sure that I get a separate deposit from anything that, literally it's called out, not in one lump sum. But literally it's, hey, here's the deposit. I don't know if it puts you on the hook for liability when it comes to if you tried to keep their deposit and there were treble damages in some situation. So yeah, I've only done it that one time. And to me, I didn't feel like it was a risk. KS, can you get grants to replace lead piping in 80-year-old houses? Are the grants through the city? You can get grants, but lead pipes, I don't know of any lead pipes. The only thing I know that, so there's lead in where you solder, bring copper pipes together. But the other stuff is either cast iron or steel that I've come across, or black iron, black iron basically. For me, so I don't use government programs. I don't really use them. And that might be bad on my part. I just don't use them. Not a fan. There's all sorts of programs out there. And in fact, I'm going to have somebody in the course on a show. Those shows are going to start in a couple of weeks. But we'll have somebody on there that actually knows about those programs. But because they're so extensive, it's going to be pretty long, but that's the kind of boring stuff we do in the course that's just like really informative. But break out your notebook. It's note-taking time. Phil Nealon, thanks so much for the super chat. Lumberjack, math on Sunday, show making Dion jealous. Yes, exactly. I know. Now I gotta, here, 1 second. Now we gotta get that we gotta get that actual number, because now it's gonna bother me, and I can't believe I couldn't figure it out on the spot. Okay, it was 60. Okay. 60, yeah. So it was. That might, yeah, final answer. So 60 years. And that's if they just do one city here. That's nowhere else. And if you look at where they're doing them, out of those 300, I think maybe 40 of them or 50 of them were in that city, maybe 40 or 50. And so, then multiply that. So instead of 300 a year, it's 6 times. So it's 360 years. Ain't going to be a thing. It ain't going to be a thing. I saw a super chat there. Jay Markey. Hey, Matt. Hi, Jay Markey. Are you still recommending American Flooring Corp? Any special instructions to follow installing in a basement? Thanks. So I haven't ordered for them, and probably because I bought a lot for the projects that we had. Like I bought, oh man, I think I bought 5,000 or 6,000 square feet. That's a lot of square footage. But we just burned through a bunch of it. So I'm going to be reaching out to them again. The rules for installing on concrete are from the manufacturer because they have different ways of manufacturing the flooring. So the best thing to do is look it up, because it will vary based on the different vendors and how they recommend. And what you want to do is you want to follow the way they say to, because if you don't, and you do have a warranty problem, then they can void the warranty. So you want to make sure you're specifically looking up for that specific floor, exactly what they recommend to install, how to install it on top of concrete floors. Because believe it or not, they do vary. Some require a different pad, some require a different adhesive if you're gluing it down. So that's what I would take a look at. Yeah, that's what I would take a look at. But that's a great question, Jay Markey. Appreciate the super chat too. Johnny Ramirez, what's up, Real Estate Freaks? Good morning, sir. Tony Rosa, interesting question. Theta Hedge Capital, howdy, wondering what your average cost to install a new combi boiler? Yep. And what all I needed to convert from old hot water radiator system. So great question. So usually if you're, if you are old hot water, then it depends on what you have as far as, you can still, if you're a forced hot water system and you already have all the baseboard already all installed, you're probably looking at $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. If you need all the new radiators installed along with the boiler, you're probably looking at $15,000, $16,000, $17,000. Those are a pretty good ballpark. That's what I've paid kind of over the last couple of years. I just had one installed. I'm just waiting on the final number. As far as like final detail, but I think we're going to be right around, 17, 18, right around there, I think. Keith Hager, I wonder how Mike is handling this snowstorm. I know, right? Ooh, snow. It's crazy. You guys aren't used to snow. It's going to close places down for days. Sounds like my house. I have 12 kids. Oh, do you really have 12 kids? Good for you, Terry. You're awesome. I got 3. Nowhere near. Dividend Dave. Thanks, Jay Markey. Yeah. Thanks, Jay Markey. Ironwood Workman, Jay Markey, old basement floors were poured directly on the ground. Yep. So a lot of moisture comes through the concrete. Yep. Even though you don't realize it. Yep. It can get trapped underneath. Yep. Oh, did I just move? Golly, there we go. Most new floors and basement floor measures to prevent this moisture wicking. Yep. From happening with the concrete. If it's a newer floor, you should be good to go. Yes, exactly. So exactly what Ironwood said. That's why we always look at the manufacturer's warning, is because they will typically give you that guidance. Rob, I'm a little late. Did I miss the rant? Yeah, you did. Yeah, I couldn't hold it up for you. That's how we start things off. Millennial Mike, you're siphoning off the surplus value of the labor of the worker. Seize the means of production, comrades. Yeah, to the gulag with the bourgeois. Yeah, yes, exactly. I asked them, I said, so how does landlording work in your communist country? I looked at his profile. He was from the States. Thanks for the super chat, Millennial Mike. Working hard. David Yang, I saw the video with the commentary on Facebook criticism of death threats for landlords. Yep. Just tell people that landlords are like hotels, but charge better rates. That's the way I look at it. David Yang, it's not necessarily wrong. But again, it's more the entitlement idea, right? Which is, I want a steak, and the restaurant should just sell it to me for the $6 that I can afford. I literally had a tenant put that in their response to their eviction papers to the court. The landlord promised me after I got off this program that he would give me a number I could afford. Really? Really? Do you think I was born last night, or do you think the judge was? Good luck with that argument. Yeah, I promised you because I knew what you could afford a year later after your rent was paid for you. Like I knew. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy evicting you because you're dumb and you're lazy and you won't get a job. You hear that, George? Loud and clear? Yeah. I'm excited to evict you because your next landlord is going to have the same issues with you that I have with you, which is you don't pay on time and you constantly complain and you're the problem. Yeah. Good times. Landlord Odyssey. Hey guys, I'm late, but I'm here. Thanks, Ready On. Good to have you here. Also tell people that if you want to control real estate and the economy, then the country should straight up be a communist country. Exactly. Anger is interesting and always vented on the internet. It's always vented on the internet because they're not tough. Like, it doesn't take any nuts to, sorry, language. It doesn't take anything to sit there and tap away on a keyboard. Angry sauce, angry sauce. Look at me, I'm angry. Yeah, do something about it. Whatever. Like, go out and get a better job. Go out and try to improve yourself. That's what this is here. This is 99 people here watching this, trying to get better, learn something. Come on, do your own. Marv, do your own homework, Marv. David Yang, I'm a workman. David Yang, yes, the landlord rates are much, much better. Yep, than the hotels. It's a very good point. Most people don't think like this. Yeah. Well, if you're going to complain that being a landlord is illegal, then so should being a grocery store. Like, let's follow the logic and let's take out farmers, right? Like, farmers don't do enough for us. Dear God, farmers are amazing. I've got friends that farmers and they're absolutely spectacular people. Don't worry, RC, they'll rewind because Lumberjack is kind. David, Dividend Dave, I will not. You can have to go back to the beginning and listen to me 2x in some places. That's going to be really hard to listen to. Ninja Vanished 24/7. Good morning. Thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate you. I'll look for your question if you didn't ask, because you didn't ask one in the super chat, but I appreciate you. Johnny Cashflow Ramirez, preach. Hey man, that's the only thing I know how to do, my friend. I just share my stories with you guys. Listen, we have more evictions coming up in the next 6 months, or over 6 month period, basically starting in January, because when their programs ran out, which was the emergency rental assistance program. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch my video series, Rental Apocalypse, 3 videos. And yeah, you see all the band-aids on my hand. But 3 videos, absolutely spectacular, does a breakdown for exactly what happened, why the rental apocalypse was created for so many different tenants. And these people knew, and I say these people because it's all the people in that program. We gave them 90 days notice. We gave them 60 days notice. We gave them 30 days notice that your rent is going to be due on this month because we know that you no longer have benefit. You will need to have this amount money ready for rent. It's a lease. It's the way it goes. And 11 out of 11 people didn't have the money that they needed when the program was over. And we're talking about people that were given 20, 25, 27, 30, 32, 35, 36, $40,000 in rent and electrical and fuel assistance. And they didn't have a dime ready when it came due, even though we gave them the heads up. And somehow that makes me, the landlord, an idiot or an a-hole. I beg to differ. Just saying. Jay Markey, thanks, Lumberjack Landlord. You're welcome. Dividend Dave and I would. Yep. I'll make sure to get detailed instructions from the manufacturers and keep you posted. Absolutely. Very good. Yeah. Again, this is the thing that I want you guys to watch out for with any material that you use. It's the same thing with roofing. Most of you don't know, or did you know, that if you actually install a brand new roof on an existing roof, is it much less expensive for the roofer to do it? Yes, it is. Does it void the warranty with almost every roofing company out there? Yes, it does. When they come out here and they see that you installed their shingle on top of another shingle, you're done. They're going to say, nope, we're going to void the warranty because our instructions say it needs to be put on, this substrate, this surface. So these are the things that I know, not from experience, but because I read them, and know that when we talk to the roofers, we just say, yeah, if there's another layer on there, we're not just going to go over it. It costs a little bit more, but we also unearth and see any issues that might be underneath the shingles, like there might have been a leak or something like that, where we see that, a piece of the CDX or the plywood might have been ripping, or rotting away or gotten soft, or what we call punky, which means you step on it, it's a little bit squishy. And we'll replace that board. And then when we put our new ice and water, and then which is the first 2 layers, and then felt on top of that, and then we put the new ridge cap on it, and we put all the new, once we've done all that, new drip edge and all that stuff, once we've done all that stuff, now we know we have a fantastic roof system that's likely going to last us at least the 30 years it's warranted for, usually. Ryan Allen, hello, been a while since I made the live stream. Good to have you here. Switched to a better job and had to adjust to the new schedule. Good for you. Saving more for the next building now. I love it. This is what I love. Hopefully Alexi is doing well, Ryan Allen. But yeah, this is the type of stuff with this tenant. They literally put that. So what was really funny too, was we had next time I'm horrible at social media, guys, in case you hadn't noticed. I was in court on Wednesday, I think it was. Yeah, I think I was in court on Wednesday. And so I go to court. I'm in the courtroom, or I'm walking the courtroom, and we all sit down, and I'm looking for the tenant. I can't see her. I'm like, where did she go? I can't see her. So I'm looking for the tenant. Can't see her. I'm like, whatever. So I'm ready to go up and argue my case. Judge comes in, announces everything, and says, yep, let's call the first case. Calls my case up. I go up. I stand there. He's like, is your tenant here? I said, not that I saw. She requested the hearing. Yes, Your Honor, she did. Well, I've read her complaint. She wants more time. Yes, sir. Well, she's not here to give me what reason she has that she needs more time. I said, well, Your Honor, honestly, she's asked for more time for 90 days and I just couldn't give her any more time anymore. And so now it's time that she move on. And he said, yep, very well. And he said, he asked me a couple of other questions. He goes, yes, is this the amount she owed? And I said, yes. I hadn't filled out the paperwork. Mrs. Lumberjack did, so I believed it was. I said, yes, to the best of my knowledge. Yes, sir. And then he said, do you know how many people are living there? And I said, no, Your Honor. I said, I know that she has a number of guests that are not allowed there due to the lease. But I feel like but she is also not paid rent. So it's time that we move on. He said, sounds good. He literally right there filled out the paperwork. He said, great, I'm granting you your judgment. And we will have a writ of possession filled out for you within 7 days. And you can come to the courthouse and pick up the writ. When I go and pick up the writ, unless she can oppose it online. But I don't know why I don't know what she could oppose it with that the judge is going to then grant. So we'll take a look. We'll wait and we'll see, but hopefully she doesn't oppose it. And if she does, then she still actually is going to she hasn't paid February either. So I'm pretty sure I think her rent's $2,800 a month. So she already owes me $5,600. March 1st comes, she's going to owe me another 28 on top of that. Yeah. So now we're 84. Pretty sure she's not going to be able to pay me the $8,400 so she can appeal. But she's just dragging it out, and this is what they do. But yeah, I think the first time was 10 days and then about 10 days for a hearing and then 7 days. So it'll take about 30 days or so to get her out. And based on the rental apocalypse, that's actually not too bad of timing. So that's going to be what it is. Clint LeClaire, it's unfortunate, but those coming evictions experience hedonic expansion. Excellent word. That the rest of us usually have in growth periods. Yes. If only government policies accounted for human behavior. Well, I think that's always the challenge, is that the government policies, they're constantly trying to account for human behavior. And that's why it's so flawed, is because one of the things because I had so many people that we helped in that process, we weren't caseworkers, because a caseworker would have a conversation with you once a week, but we're familiar with that process. They didn't have any case management. It was, we got your money. We got money from Fed. We actually, from the federal government, we're paying for your rent 90 days at a time. And there was no check-in other than 1-page document that required 5 fields to be checked. That was it. That was it. That was all that was required. That was more than just a little bit frustrating. Because they also, and the program told you that they actually didn't verify any of the information that you put in the document. Geez, I wonder if all the information in the document was correct. Likely not. Ours was, but not the tenants. And I saw it time after time after time. So when people come to me and talk to me about how landlording should be illegal, what really should be illegal is you getting any money from the government and not having to prove all the reasons that you're getting the money from the government, with the exception of, like, the obvious stuff, like retirement. Well, obviously you retired, like things like that, military stuff, obviously. But for other people on the government dole that don't have to provide factual information and it actually be verified, yeah, I got a little bit of an issue with that. A little bit. Jeremy Kirkwood. Good morning, Matt and all. Good morning, Jeremy. Putting finishing touches on our first duplex refi today before appraisal tomorrow. Love it. Painted and cleaned up 1920s cabinets. We'll never do it again. New hardware. Annoying. Yeah, it's brutal. Yeah, that's that stuff is tough. A lot of times it's like we don't want to lose the historic stuff, but sometimes you just have to. It was made for a different time. People want to go into a unit and they want to see slow closed drawers and slow closed doors and all of this other stuff. The best thing you can do is try and upgrade the actual doors and drawers, but drawers are impossible in those older boxes because they're not going to slide because of all the way that everything was engineered. So yeah, largely in those older buildings, I have no choice but to rip out the old custom made wood cabinets because nobody wants them. Nobody wants them. Renters don't want them. Renters don't appreciate them. They're like, no, I'd rather have nice and shiny and new. So we rather put in nice and shiny new because it's a better tenant. Jacob, how likely are you to collect on the eviction, or do you sell your debt to a collection agency? And lawyer Conan smiles on your victory. One of the things that we're going to start doing is we are going to start taking those losses. So we can recognize it as a loss on our taxes. But one of the things that we've actually engaged with somebody part-time is for them to file all the paperwork, do all of that work, and then go after them in small claims, and then we'll have them as a representative. So we're going to try that and just see how it works. And so it's going to be a business exercise. Does it make sense to do it? How much money can you get? Because you actually have to get a judgment in order to collect on collections. If you just say that you owe, this person owes you, I don't know of many collection companies that will really pursue that well. So we always have to get the judgment before we give it to collections. And getting a judgment costs time and money. So we're going to do it with some of this stuff where it's like they owe $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. Yeah, we're going to go after it in court. And I have a friend of mine who makes probably about, I'd say $3,000 a week on weekly payments from people that they have bad debt. And so he gets paid, I think, it can be as little as $20. He can be paid as little as $20 a week. It's pretty crazy. But he can make as little as $20 a week, and they have to send a check every single week. And so he has that money every week that just comes in. It's kind of crazy. More than just a little bit. But yeah, we're going to try something new. At the end of the day, they owe us that money. They owe us that money. And so if they ever came into some money and said they wanted to do some sort of a negotiation, I might consider that. But the other thing that you get too is when you go through small claims court, you also get interest. So you can charge them interest on that debt. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, kind of how that goes, but we're going to try that, and see if it works. Only because, so she'll be about 8,000 or so. She'll be about $8,000. And then we've got another one who's probably going to be about $5,000. And then another one that's probably about $3,000. So we'll put her on those three cases kind of all at the same time. She can handle them all at the same time. And we'll see how it goes. And if it goes great, cool. If it doesn't, that's okay too. CJ Underwood currently going through an eviction now as well. Yep. Tenant got a 2-week extension last week since the tenant apparently changed her name sometime since signing the lease. So extra 2 weeks wasted. CJ Underwood, what does that have to do with anything? She changed her name? BFD. Was it still the same mailing address? Did she not get the papers? Like, this is why alignment of the state that you invest in is somewhat important. It is. There are states that will not allow evictions during the 5 weeks of the wintertime because it's cold. So that means, so professional tenants know this. They get in there and they won't pay for 5 months and you're left holding the bag. So here's the part where somebody should tell me how it's no work being a landlord. Ironwood Workman, government red tape. Yep. Equal more work, equal higher prices. Absolutely. $2,000 toilet seats, right? I worked with the government. It's brutal in some cases. Jeremy Kirkwood, on our last eviction, the tenant owed $2,300. Lawyer was willing to evict and take 40% of back collections for us to have no out of pocket. Eviction successful, collection not success mail so far. Not successful so far. Interesting that the lawyer would do that. That's interesting. So they were willing to take basically 11 or $1,200 for an eviction. So I can tell you in most states, evictions are not time consuming. Their time frame is difficult, especially with all the people getting evicted now because they used the government program and then didn't participate and then couldn't pay when it was done. So that's the biggest difference that I see now, is that where we used to get stuff returned in 5-7 days, now it's 2 weeks. So we're seeing that hit the process for sure. But that's why we've also staged our evictions. And so, yeah, I think we'll have a few. I'd done 9. Excuse me. I'd done 9 in 21 years. And now we're on number 1, 2, 3 in the last 3 months. Okay. Way it goes. Cost of doing business. Phil Nealon, 11 for 11. That's a bit sad. Tell me about it, Phil. And it wasn't out of the blue. We told them, we gave them the heads up. We let them know, hey guys, it's coming. Hey guys, it's coming. Hey guys, it's coming. Nothing. 11 out of 11 couldn't pay the first month's rent coming out of having their rent paid for them for a year. Go ahead and tell me how UBI is going to work. I'm sure that'll be just as good. Same folks, you tried hard to provide a place to live by Christmas. Yep. Back when the great health event happened. Exactly. That's exactly who it was. Yep. How short the memories are. Yeah. We had all of these people, which was all 11 of these people, did not have a place. And this was an apartment for them where they were taken out of a shelter or a hotel room that they were put in by this program and then put into this unit. 11 for 11. Yep. So just the numbers. Those are the facts. Can't argue with them. That's factually what happened. We placed those 11 people between Thanksgiving and so 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. And the last one that we placed was the end of February. Those 11 people. And now we are where we are. Out of those 11, none of them could pay the first month's rent in full. So I went to my attorney and I said, I don't want these people to be homeless in the wintertime. And so let's work something out for them. And he said, what did you have in mind? I said, we'll do a rent adjustment. No lease, but we'll do a rent adjustment on the existing lease that they have in place, or even if they go month to month, where we will now do weekly. So we did something different for them. We knew that they could get fuel assistance. We knew that they could get electrical assistance. And so what we did was we said, listen, we're just going to charge you for rent. We're going to charge you for rent weekly. And you have to go get, fuel assistance or electric assistance or whatever you need to go get if you can't afford to pay that either. Out of those 11, 6. Out of those 11, 6 people are paying. 6 out of those 11 weekly, a reduced rate with fuel assistance, with electric assistance. But this is how you have to manage your business. I saw the opportunity to still help people out, but they can't stay for free. But the 6 are still paying weekly, 5 are not, and the 5 are the evictions that we're going through. And then when it comes time, we'll work with these folks and say, okay, This is what we need to do moving forward. So we had to do it. We had to adjust. Like I said, we had to change everything. When we worked with the emergency rental assistance program, their request of us was they wanted everything in one number. They didn't want to write multiple checks to one, because of the administration of it. Right. So I'm thinking, yeah, we'll take that on. We'll do that. That was a nightmare. That was a nightmare because just with those just 11 units, you have the mortgage, which we always pay, but you've got the water bill, the sewer bill, the electric bill. You've got the heat bill, which could be oil or gas. And so for every single month, it was 5 more bills times 11 units. It was 55 more bills a month that we had to manage. Administration, overhead. That meant that Ashley and I had to spend that much more time doing paperwork, making sure their bills were paid. The other interesting thing that we found was that the average energy consumption of those tenants versus the previous tenants that were in the same unit was anywhere from 200 to 400% higher. Just facts. Sorry if it hurt your feelings. Just facts. We have one tenant that has averaged a $600 gas bill in the wintertime and a $300 to $400 excuse me, electric bill. So now tell me how much money I'm making on that unit. I'm not making anything on that unit. I'm losing money on that unit. Now, we learned we wanted to try and help people. She was in a bad spot, single mom of 3. And so we wanted to help. Now I'm having to evict her. She didn't have a dime ready. She couldn't even, she said, I'm not paying to stay in this place. Okay. After she lived there for basically for free for a year, I'm excited to get her out now. My cost basis is going to go through the floor because she literally sits there 24/7 with her kids. And that's all she does. That's all she does. I just single mom too. It's really hard. It's really hard. I get it. It's really hard, but you could get a job. There's a job available for you. Guaranteed. Wow, Matt, your eviction, Ironwood Workman. Wow, Matt, your eviction rates are great. Thank you. Yeah. I'm not sure exactly how many units you have, but you're doing very good. Thank you very much. I have 137. So we have a little over 4. The way that we count it is if we have a tenant for a year, that's 1 tenant year. If we have 4 people in that unit, but they pay individually like a roommate situation, that's 4 tenant years. If we have a family in there where it's, parent and kids, 2 parents and kids, that's 1 tenant year. So that's how we kind of break down the tenant years. We're over 4,000 tenant years now, and only 9 evictions was spectacular. This specifically was something we wanted to do to try and help people, the emergency rental assistance program. And honestly, it bit us. It just bit us. We got some really great people out of it that appreciated it. They paid, they found jobs, they used the opportunity. And then we have, 5 that are just complete total deadbeats. Period. End of story. Complete and total deadbeats. And I can't make them not deadbeats. They are what they are. However, I'm doing my best to see the difference between the ones that did pay and the ones that didn't pay. Because I don't want to say, no, I don't want to help people. I just need to lower my risk profile for when I do help people, because that's going to be expensive. It's going to cost me in evictions and unpaid rent and everything else will be around 25 or 30 grand, I think, when it's all said and done. And so did I make up that much from when they were tenants? Based on the rate of what we charged, it's gonna be mathematics. I'm gonna have to really sit down and look at it, because again, we had 5 bills a month plus, that we had to pay for those tenants. They wouldn't buy trash bags, and in our towns, they charge to throw out trash. So our option was they would leave black bags outside where we would go grab them and throw them in the dumpster. And so my dumpster fees were up significantly last year. But yeah, I'm going to be looking through the numbers and see. Now, did I make more money? Maybe. Was it worth it? Not in a million years. Not in a million. I wouldn't do it all over again if it were exactly the same. So yeah, we're going to kind of run the numbers and see what it looks like. Robert Farinelli, home, Matt. Sorry for being late. Busy painting. It's all good. It's all good. Happy to have you anytime you come. Laura Samaniego. At Ironwood Workman, I provide clean, safe, functional unit. Yep. Dion, that's being said. Yep. I agree 100% with you. Any roof is better than no roof. Exactly. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Always. Yeah. Ironwood Workman. Thanks for always adding to the story. Phil Nealon, way to go, Laura. And you too, Ironwood. Absolutely. This is, guys, this is the community that I want to be a part of, is talking about being great landlords, curating a great experience for our tenants. And do we make money? Of course we do. We have to. No business is sustained when it doesn't make money, unless you're being given a bunch of money from other parts of the economy that require money. You know, all of these federal programs, where do you think it comes from? It's either printed or it's paid back in taxes and then it's reallocated. It's what it is. Clint LeClaire, hey, Matt, it'd be great to have a conversation between Millennium Mike, Dion, Zuber, and you on different requirements for tenant qualifications according to your rental markets. So I think we've actually done that one before. But yeah, I'm open to it. Yeah, I think we've done that one before, because Mike only really does Fresno. Dion has more disparity, and so he actually affects more markets. And then Mike touches the most markets, I think, because he does Chicago, Seattle area, suburb of Seattle, and then Gary. So he does all those. But yeah, we've talked about that for sure. Terry Flood, who leads the league in goals for goaltenders this year? Goals against? It's Allmark. Goals against? It's Allmark. Let's see. Ironwood Workman, at Laura, on the landlord side, running a clean, functional unit. Yep, cuts down on liability. It is the smart move. I completely agree. That's exactly right. This is one of the things where, so tenant came back to me, said, and this is that pinhead George. George came back to me and said, we've had a list of things that we told you needed doing and you never did them. Okay. I was like, doesn't sound like me, but let's look into it. So I look at my texts. The last text I got from him was in July. So July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, 8 months. Whatever you gave me to do, it was 8 months ago, and it wasn't even in that list, but it was 8 months since the last time you even texted me. My guess is it wasn't too urgent. The other thing too is that I looked up in our CRM, or in our property management software. And they had requested 5 or 6 things, and we had deployed somebody each time to go do that. They put notes in the system of what they did. So I'm very much looking forward to what he has to say in court, because I have a list, and I also am going to have a surprise witness. So it's going to be a very interesting time in court. Well, Terry, I thought you meant goals against. I was helping correct you, Terry. But yes, no goalies, none this year. But although Allmark has been closed twice. So anyway, so with that tenant, we'll see what ends up happening with that tenant. At the end of the day, what I don't understand is, and this is one of the things that you need to know about going to court, they are fighting to stay in your unit. You get it? They're fighting to stay in your unit. And they're going to sit there and they're going to talk garbage about your unit for 15 minutes. All right. One of my secret lines. Here's one of my secrets. They go on and on and on and on and on. And then judge says, What say you? I say, you're right, Your Honor. I think that person's I think they're very unhappy in the unit. I've dispatched people a number of times to take care of those issues. They've been addressed, but they are very unhappy in that unit. So I think it does make sense to proceed and let them find another place to live. So let's work something out where they can find another place to live. And then the defendant is completely astonished. They are mortified because they just created the case for them to leave, but they wanted to stay. I was like, nope, you're right. If you believe that the place is horrible, we've done all these things. If you believe the place is horrible, I agree. It's time for you to move on. However, for the time that you have stayed there and accrued debt, that is money that needs to be paid off. That's all I'm saying. And they step in that one almost every single time. Almost every single time. It's ridiculous. Jeremy Kirk, we've seen a huge spike in this winter in displaced families and our short and midterm rentals. No moratorium on winter evictions. Here, although it's customary, had many issues with those tenants. Absolutely. They're the worst tenants. They're the worst. And so for us, when we inherit a building, or when not inherit a building, but when we buy a building and inherit a tenant, we are very careful in how we structure things moving forward. We have found many great tenants that way. We've also found some complete a-holes that way. And often with the value add stuff that I'm buying, it can be a high percentage of a-hole. So that being said, we work with the people that we work with. We let them know, hey, let us know of 2 or 3 issues that are really bothering you around the house. We want to make sure to take care of them. We do that with all of the tenants. And then we see how they respond. And then we see if they pay rent on time. And then we see if they have a dog ate your homework complex. I like to call it eviction mold. It only appears and you only heard about it once you serve them papers. It's like, really, dude? Really? So predictable. Never said a word, but now all of a sudden there's a mold issue. The day you got your eviction paper. Come on, stop. So that's what we try and do in going through that tenant selection process, is seeing who works with us, seeing who pays on time, seeing who a good tenant is, seeing when they report an issue. Is it an actual issue? I have no issues that are real issues being reported. I have every issue with you wasting my people's time. This Saturday, we actually did a no heat call, no hot water call. I was like, it's in an old New England basement. Could the hot water tank have burst? Maybe that's a problem. So I just said, hey, can you go over there and check this out? He said, sure. Goes over there, checks it out. Her kids had just had a 15-minute shower and a 20-minute bath, and she wondered why she was out of hot water. And she said 15 and 20 minutes. So we all know it was probably more like an hour because she was getting peace and quiet. And she ran out of hot water because the hot water tank is a 50-gallon hot water tank. So when he went over there, he turned on the hot water, and within 10 seconds, he had hot water again. I want to send her the bill for that call because that was a stupid call. Instantly, no testing, no wait, no pause. Instantly, I don't have hot water this second. I'm sending something to the landlord. No ability to say, you know what? Let me give it 5 minutes. Let me turn it on back in 5 minutes and see if I have anything. Nothing. Wasted a call. Got my guy that he had just stopped spending time with his family to go over and check on her. Now tell me how it's not work. Again, tell me how being a landlord's not work. So we did the right thing. We took care of them, but they did the wrong thing. They were so hell-bent on something doesn't work, reach out to the landlord in a millisecond, because you guys know how long it takes for water to heat up in a hot water tank or even be warm. Like, they just finished their showers. They just finished the tubs, and she didn't have hot water to then do their dishes too. Like, it's a 2-bedroom apartment. Of course she didn't. So anywho, let's see. Ironwood Workman. When I was broke and renting well, I would just try to get jobs from the slumlords and cheap rent. Yeah, sure. I got a lot of construction work that way. Absolutely. We have a guy who's fallen behind. I know he's a pretty good tile guy. We have a guy who's fallen behind, and I just had him quote out a job. And, we're going to use him and give him a shot on one bathroom. And if he does a good job, then we'll use him for the other stuff. And I'm more than happy to use him moving forward because he doesn't have regular work right now. It's just like I said was going to happen. If only he watched my channel. Tony Rosa, I was so tuned in, I burned my pizza. Oh, dude, I'm so sorry. That's a problem. That's a real problem. Do you plan, Terry Flood, do you plan on buying investment properties in Vegas or just your personal house? So the way that I do investing, I'm going to buy my personal house first and then beat immersion is how I learn. And so I want to be in the market, going to REI meetups, having conversations with guys, talking to the big guys in those markets. That's where I want to go. And so it will depend, honestly. So we'll buy the house out there. We'll probably only be out there a couple months a year because the kids have school here. So we'll probably only be out there a couple months a year. But when we go out there for those couple months, yeah, I think it might be, we'll definitely, I believe that we'll invest there for sure. We're just not going to start there. So yeah, good question, Terry. Ira Workman, poor Tony. I hope you do not go hungry. I know. I feel the same way. Burned pizza is the worst because it's just like a minute too long or a minute and a half too long. Landlord Odyssey, when running your numbers, do you account for the tax increases after major renovations? I do not. And the reason that I don't is because it's impossible to say exactly what they're going to raise your assessment to. I have not found any correlation. So let's say I buy something for $250 and the taxes are $5,000 annually. And then I put $100,000 in and so now it's, or we'll do, so then I put $100,000 more in, or 375,000. I put 125 in. So now it's basically half again as much. My taxes don't go from 5 to 75. So I'm interested, Reddy, on when you look at it, I'm interested to see if you do find correlation there, because I've not found correlation there. I've not found that they take the $125,000 worth of work I did, and if the bill was $5,000, that they then raise it $2,500. I'm very interested to find if you find any correlation on yours, because taxes are accounted for locally. And so in New Hampshire, they're reassessed every 5 years. So when they do assessment jumps, the only thing that they do on assessment jumps is they figure a percentage, and then people's assessment goes up that percentage. Then when they redo all the properties and they actually reappraise everything, like a citywide appraisal, when they do that citywide appraisal, then at that point, you're then going to see a significant increase in your property taxes. But then usually what they also try and do is they also try and slow it down a little bit, because they'll usually show a massive increasing on assessment, but they will typically at that point, they'll say, hey, we're going to drop the tax rate. Great. My taxes still went up. No, we dropped the rate. Yeah, I get it. It's a lower rate on a higher number, and it's effectively higher. Right, but we still dropped the rate. Don't care. It still takes more money out of my pocket. I don't care how you want to justify it to yourself. Yeah, you dropped the rate, but the assessment, you put up $75,000, and based on what you dropped the rate, my payment's still $250 more a year, or $300 more a year, as example. Hopefully that helps. REI Stoners, what does it mean to stabilize a property? Great question. So stabilizing a property is really just making sure that you have the same tenants for a period of time. So if you have just bought a building and you end up in the next 3 to 6 months doing some evictions, getting new tenants in there, what you want to see is that you're kind of 6 months down the road with the new tenants to see that the property is really at that point stabilized. You have consistent income coming in, the tenants are consistently paying, that is stabilized. Optimized is when you take it the next step, which is, what are the things that I can do to this building that will create and curate a better experience for the tenants that will lend itself to more money when it comes to renewal, or when it comes to a unit coming clear and then you're re-renting it. So that's one of the things that I cover in my course is, hey, here are 5 things that you guys should be doing in your units. Certainly when they turn over, because it's little things that feel like a lot that actually get you a pretty good return. So we just did a unit. It was $850 a month. 1 second. See a text. So it was $850 a month. Okay. And we did we did floors, we did paint, we changed out a few fixtures. We did about 3,500, maybe $4,000 worth of work. And call it 4. I think 4 is a better number. I think it's a safer number. So we did about $4,000 worth of work. We went from $850 to $1,500. So a $650 increase. That is not just a stabilized, that is an optimized. We had tenants that were in that building for at least a year. We had redone the other side. This was a duplex. And so now, when I bought that building 2.5, 3 years ago, we did a little bit of rehab, light, like less than 10,000. And we did, I think rents were 18 and 850. So they were 2650. They were 2650 and now they are 4. So $1,350 more in rent. Both are new tenants, but they were thrilled to get the place. And they're like, this place is awesome. We love it. Perfect. We upscaled, spent about $15,000 over a course of about 2 years, did a lot of those projects while the old tenants were in there. And then binder strategy, or they were moving in. And I think in both cases, both moved away. And so there was no need to binder them this year. There was last year. But that's how the mop flopped. Yep. Yes. Let's see. I got behind. Sorry. What's your opinion on wholesalers? Do you use them? Yep. Some wholesalers are good. Some wholesalers suck. I have probably 8 or 10 wholesalers that I've worked with. I'd say 3 of them are really good. And the other, I think the rest of them are kind of, I don't know how they make money. They made money in an up market. I don't know how they're going to make money now. I bet their volume is way down. Phil Nealon, eviction mold. Yeah, it's true. That's literally a term I use. I call it eviction mold. It only happens when I serve you papers. Yep. Here's what exact words. Every single night we have to spray it and wipe it down. And by morning it's back. I said, that's awesome. He's like, awesome. I go, I got to bottle that stuff and sell it. You found the most potent pathogen in the world. That stuff's amazing. If it can reproduce at that clip where you literally kill it and the next day it's all back. Oh man, I got to bottle that stuff. Are you being sarcastic? Yeah, I was being sarcastic, but not really. Because if we did find something like that, I would definitely resell it. Let's see. Yes. I had that happen once with an inherited tenant. Yep. Odd how it disappeared when I told her she didn't owe me back rent. Just kept a security deposit and gave it to the seller. There you go. Seller was so surprised he rented from me for a year. I love it. Yeah. And so we took pictures and I looked at them all. And at best, there's one picture out of the 9 that were taken that has some dirt on it. And I'm looking forward to showing those pictures in court as well, if it gets to that, because on 3 of the areas that he reported mold, there were cobwebs attached to it. So you cleaned it? Yeah, every day. And it would come back the next day, every day. Interesting. You're the most amazing cleaner I've ever seen. You can clean around cobwebs. That's such a gift. You're spectacular. Like, again, this guy's making magic happen in that unit. Mold that regenerates in 12 hours and the ability to clean around cobwebs. It's unbelievable. Spectacular. Terry Flood. Awesome. I'm spending 2 weeks in Henderson driving my buy box. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Henderson's great. I liked Henderson a lot. Henderson was really cool. I liked Summerlin too. But I think I might prefer to be, I think I'm feeling like being Summerlin adjacent is a better fit for me. I think that this would be offensive to most nice people living in Summerlin in the grocery store. Ironwood Workman. I love wholesalers. I love it too. I love, like I said, they're great. It's really the difference between a good one and a bad one. I hate bad anything, except for maybe pizza. But I love almost good anything. That's just me. I'm a simple man. REI Stoners at 20 Rosa. Check out the last video I just posted. Yep. Cracked a wheel of cheese to put on our pizza. Wow. Nice. Good for you. I love that. Yes. My coworker just told me his roommate is a wholesaler. Yep. I think, yeah, you got to meet him. REI. It's all about those relationships. Network is your net worth. When you're rolling over cash 1031 and need to invest it right away so you don't have to pay taxes, wholesalers are a great option. By the way, I think it's called a 1031. I'm not an accountant. It is called a 1031 exchange. I've done it a number of times. It's a fantastic, fantastic model. But I've done 7, maybe 6 or 7 of them. Don't know exactly. But somewhere in that ballpark. 1031 exchange is a phenomenal, phenomenal tech tool that is still available to us today. However, because you are selling something, there's a bunch of really cool, awesome, sexy things that you can do with a 1031. So I know that you have 45 days to name the properties that you're going to be looking at, but I have found a way to turn that into 90 days and it's just is what it is. It's a fantastic approach, but 1031s, I do them often. Zach 1328, have the live playing as I'm running around getting ready for the algorithm, maybe boot camp. I will sit down and watch it tonight. Oh, best of luck to you all. Thanks, Zach. Appreciate that. So I'm getting ready for the algorithm. I don't know if that's what you meant to say, but okay, cool. Oscar, the only time your taxes will go up is if you add square footage to the unit or the house, other than assessing yearly, just the way you said it, Matt, is exactly it. It's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. Square footage will impact you far, far more than a rehab. However, a rehab will affect you, but it's marginal. It's marginal. Yeah. Jeremy Kirkwood, I've said it before, but I will say it again. The best tenants are those that should or could own a home. Yeah. The ones that shouldn't will complain about no heat with dirty filter or loose faucet rings. It's true. No heat is a complaint that I don't mind getting because I want to know what's going on, because I don't want frozen pipes, because I know that they're not going to pay for them. So no heat's not one that I don't mind. However, it's the speed by which you report. No heat is very different than no hot water. Only because the hot water can come back. No heat usually doesn't. But yeah, I get what you're saying, Jeremy. Agreed. Except I was funny. I was seeing somebody, I think it was on the Bigger Pockets post. Somebody posted something about somebody with an 808 credit score or something like that. And then they started to describe all the issues that they've had with the tenant. And I go, that's the curse of the 800 credit score. And the person responded back and said, you're so right. Curse of the 800 credit score. I hate 800s and above. And I've got an 800 or an 835. I have an 835 credit score. And smiles. Apparently one of my kids got me. But yeah, I have a much easier time with people between 680 and 720. Yep. They're usually just inherently, they've just been more easy. And I don't know what, and it's not because they don't ever say anything. It's because they will say something, but only after they've tried a couple things, as opposed to just like a temper tantrum moment. That's what I've seen anyway. REI Stoner, great explanation of stabilization. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hey, Anna K. Anna K, are you ready for boot camp today? I'm so pumped for boot camp today. Guys, I am so excited about boot camp. I can't even begin to tell you. This has been something literally years in the making, and 6 months of hard work is finally coming to fruition with the boot camp today. So I am so excited to be there with you guys. Yeah, so excited. Dung Tai, there he is. boot camp in 30 minutes. You know it, Dung Tai. I'm so pumped to be doing this with you guys. It's going to be awesome. Robert Finelli, I wish I had a question, but I got to go back to rolling walls so I can make it in time for boot camp. Yes, that's right. Boot camp. Love it. Boot camp's in 30 minutes. Jeremy Kirkwood. Oh, that's my alarm for boot camp. Jeremy Kirkwood. We have a local correlation value of about 20% under market sale price. It's yearly. We can almost count on it. They use lots of tools to reevaluate here. So, we have that on the assessment side, but not on the revaluations or when it, not on the revaluation side that I'm aware of, not that I've seen. And the reason why is I can take, 10 properties in my portfolio and I can look at what raised what, and there's no correlation whatsoever. Some are up 5%, some are up 8%, some are up 1.5%. It's nothing. And that's even when that's when they were stagnant. And then if I look at the ones that had work done, even if I look at the percentages, I can't figure out the percentages. There's nothing that matches. That ADU guy, haters are going to hate, brother. Keep up the good work. Guys, if you haven't checked out Derek on that ADU guy, we're going to do a collaboration in the next few weeks. I got crazy busy the last 2 weeks with all of these evictions. It's been somewhat time consuming. But definitely check out that ADU guy. We had a bro moment when I started talking about CDX and CDX pricing. And when I saw him actually climb into an excavator, because those are the things that I think both of us will do for our properties. And you can save yourself thousands of dollars. I have a video coming out where I literally talk about how one phone call saved me $1,800. And it's a phone call that you all could make. Watch that video. It's a phone call y'all could make. And when you make that phone call, you're going to save yourself probably 4 figures. Just saying, this is the type of stuff that we want to keep on doing. Dividend Dave, Dung Tai. I know, Dung Tai. I know exactly. Dividend Dave, I did. I rented to I literally asked him either that or he's some sort of like a chemical engineer. It was phenomenal. Let's see. Jacob, maybe the pinhead is actually Spider-Man. Ooh, that's a good point. But Spider-Man's for good. So I wouldn't think that he'd try to be Eve. I would think that Spider-Man would pay his rent. Or at least take a couple photos with my kid and I'll give you a discount. But it's not a bad theory. Richard Gamino, sounds like the cobwebs are in his head. Yeah, I think that I'd be surprised if even those were in there. Underwhelming. Inherited and underwhelming. Yeah, it's crazy. Dung Tai, I'm a wholesaler. See, Dung Tai's a wholesaler. He's going to be in the course. So we can ask him when it comes to that part of the course, when we talk about relationships to have, we'll talk to Dung Tai about some wholesaling and some stuff that he does. Cause I know that Dung Tai moves a good amount of product, meaning assets, houses. And for you to do that, you have to be good. It's just that simple. You find a lot of wholesalers that don't move a ton of product and they don't because they're not particularly that good. Bajan Sonic, I live in the area, hope to get my first deal done. Still a lot to learn from the game. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the channel. I'm glad you asked a question. Feel free when you start looking or whatever you start doing, feel free. Jump in with a question. There are truly no stupid questions. We never, ever, ever mock anyone for asking a question ever, because we were all there at one time. We all had to learn. So we'll never mock you for asking. Even if you think it's a stupid question, we will say it's not a stupid question because it's important. If it's something that's scratching the back of your brain, ask it. We're happy to answer it. Either myself or one of the many amazing landlords that we have in this group will answer it. Mr. Nice Guy 423. I'm at 10% equity with conventional mortgage. Okay. PMI is 113 a month. Okay. I can get a BPO for 105 or appraisal for 500, bought in 2020, fix up one side. Only concern is property tax increase. Any advice? So I don't necessarily have any advice for you because I think it can be so different State to state, town to town, how exactly they account for assessment, rise in taxes. It's really, really difficult. What I can tell you is that an appraisal will not raise your taxes at all. Appraisals are never filed with anybody but your bank or you. You get the appraisal, they get the appraisal, the bank. The town, they do not send the appraisal. There's a difference between appraisal and assessment. Appraisal is something that we, landlords or owners, that's something that's done either on refi or on purchase or sales, depending on which side of the equation that you're on. Usually the buyer is buying the appraisal. Assessment is what the town does based on their appraisal or their belief of what the properties have increased. So assessment is the town, appraisal is you and the bank or a buyer, and appraisals never go to towns ever. So if you're worried about that, the best advice that I have, or the best news that I have for you is no one's going to get a copy of that appraisal except for you and the bank. What's really interesting is appraisers call the bank the customer because the bank is the one who orders the appraisal. What's interesting is that they're actually not the customer. You know who the customer is? It's you. It's us. We're the customers because we're the ones actually paying for it. However, in that relationship, we pay it to the bank. So the bank then pays them. So then they are the customer of the bank. And then, yes. So they are they then have to give that to the bank. They don't even send me an appraisal. I have to get the appraisal once it's gone from the appraiser to the bank. Then they review it for a day or two, and then I get the appraisal. That's literally how that appraisal process works. So the good news is you don't have to worry about your taxes going up because of a higher appraisal. Only a higher assessment, which the town is going to run regardless of what you do. If you've pulled permits or whatever, if you pull permits, they'll do that. And they'll also do it just every year because every town every year reassesses, and they can just look across the entire city and go, we're going to do a 2% lift this year. They can do that. Yep. Matthew Paris. So I'm watching the guy who not 6 months ago says foreclosures are up 500%. Now says foreclosures just hit an all-time low. Oh, geez. I wonder who that guy is. Honestly, these people, this is what happens when you aren't living it. You're not doing the work and you're just reading charts. You're whipsawed. You have no idea what you're talking about. No idea what you're talking about. Speaking of whipsaws, Simon, uneducated economist, he talks about the bullwhip effect, which is we are starting to see now, which is basically lots of people ordered lots of stuff. And now people are starting to sit on inventory, and we're going to start to see some of that stuff be discounted and then get pushed through the system. I'm waiting for it because I need to buy about 5 miles worth of wire to wire these next couple of projects we have coming up. Oh man, I missed a bunch. Holy cow, I got slow. Leonard Skinner wrote a cool song about you, Matt. Simple Man. I'll look it up. I don't know that Leonard Skinner song, but I will look it up. Keith Hager, retired broker, now wholesaler, self-managed 16 rentals, supplements retirement. I love it. Yeah, if you got 16 rentals, Keith, that's supplementing it nicely. Matthew Mead, do you plan to have a house sitter for your Vegas home for the months not being occupied? No, we'll probably do a short-term or midterm rental. That's the idea that we have right now, is a midterm rental. Alyssa M, I'm curious, what exactly is the curse of the 800 credit and above? Did I miss it somewhere? So I did do it. Alyssa, you watch a lot of my content. I can't believe you missed it. It hurt my feelings. I'm just kidding. The curse of the 800 credit score is, and again, I have an 800 credit score. Full disclosure. They are far more demanding. They are far more entitled. They require far more things. Every little thing that happens, they want it done, and they want it done quickly. It's been my experience. The 800 credit score tenants that I have are almost as bad as the 620 credit scores I have, or 600s. Almost as bad. Yeah. Yep. It's that 680 to 720 or 660 to 740, that sweet spot right there. They're in their jobs, they're doing their work, they want to just a nice place to live. If something is broken like broken, they'll reach out to you. If it's something that's like a little annoyance thing, or like, yeah, this handle's the handle on the cabin is a little bit loose, I find that they'll jump in and they'll screw it shut, or they'll screw it back together. Just anecdotal evidence of doing this for 20 plus years. That's what I've consistently seen. Matthew Paris, I about peed myself, laughed him when he said it too, because I remember him railing on foreclosure rate jumping from 3 to 15. This guy uses the facts in whatever way he needs to support his BS. Hey, when you don't have a real job, i.e., side hustle with real estate or any of this other stuff, when you are working on as little as most realtors and mortgage brokers are right now, because they're not connected, you're trying to get any income any way you can. And a penny a click is a pretty tough way to do it. Good morning, Pallavi. Good morning, Mr. Nice Guy. We currently house hack a duplex with a zoned furnace. Okay. Would you ever lock the thermostat? I want to trust my tenant, but I feel like I should verify what the thermostat is set to. You could lock it. The other thing that you could do too is in that particular case, and Jeremy Kirkwood knows this, in that particular case, I wouldn't hate the idea of a nest. I wouldn't hate the idea of that. Yeah, because you can set alerts when something's like bumped up over a certain, like the nests are really intuitive. But I wouldn't hate that in that particular scenario, especially with how expensive fuel is. Like that can be, we have some tenants that are literally burning through $1,500 a month worth of fuel. And I know that they don't care. So we're changing some things this summer, and then they'll care a whole lot more. Mr. Nice Guy, living on site, I can respond quickly if something happens with the thermostat and they cannot access. Yeah. Yeah. You just don't know if you'll always be home. That's something I would look at technology to fix on that one. Just my thoughts on it. Ironwood Workman. I wholesale because I find the good deals. Yep. I cannot afford to fix them all. Exactly. Up at the same time. Yeah. The key to wholesaling, know the true value of the property that you are buying. Well, yeah. And be good with sellers too, right? Be able to tell the story and interact with them. And selling is really just aligning to, is what you're offering align with what that seller's needs are, or buyer's needs are. If you can do that, a sale is made. If you can't do that, if thou do it not, no deal. Phil Neal, we are all a network. Yep. Watch our net worths grow. It's gonna get sick. That's why I really wanted to do the boot camp concept, is because everybody's starting in a different place. Some people with a couple units, some people with 60 units. I am really excited about the boot camp because there's going to be that 18 of you that are going to grow together, and you're going to iron sharpen iron. Those are going to be relationships that you have for a real long time. You will have gone through experiences together. You will have learned together. You have done the work in the trenches in the boot camp together. So I'm really excited for what that looks like in the future. That's actually why I designed it the way that I did, is because the guys that I started off in the business with, 20 years ago, and they were competition in the beginning. Now they just think they're competition. But those guys, it's been great to watch their businesses grow slower and not as well. But it's been great to have those guys to be around, because I've had problems where some guys, contractors left, and it's like, I can reach out to them. Or if I get a new crazy quote, I can call up somebody and say, dude, are these what we're quoting now in this area? And sometimes it's been yes, and sometimes it's been no. Buyers are not looking good. Yep. Buyers are not looking for average. They are looking for a good deal. Yep. And if you waste their time, yep, they will not want to take your phone call. That's exactly right. Phil Nealand. Yep. Already said that. REI Stoners, if you were using an FHA loan to purchase a duplex and had more than 3.5% to put down with reserves in the bank, how would you look at this? I would still only put 3.5% down and make sure that the numbers only work on that make sure the numbers work on that 3.5% down. I wouldn't be trying to make my spreadsheet bleed. I'd be making sure that the numbers work, because if I stay there longer than I expected, they still work. if anything ever were to arise, like your payment goes from 1,000 to 1,100 because taxes went up so much. These are the things that I just look at to make sure that on a house hack, I want to put as little down on the process as possible because I want to use any other capital, either A, in reserves, but B, I also want to be fixing things up as I'm living there. I want to make it better while I'm living there. That way, when the next person moves in, when we would move into our places, we would move in when they were livable, barely, to code livable, like it had a flushing toilet. Everyone had a flushing toilet, but not every one of them had a shower. So we would do showers at friends' houses every once in a while. But that's the way it was. And so we would still get into those units. Then we would do the rest of the work. We finished the rest of the work and then boom, check the box, boom, we're done. So that's how we kind of did it. I remember this one job that I did where the picture on Google Maps had a dumpster in front of the house, and that contractor that was in there at that time didn't pull a permit. I literally called him. I go, dude, all they're going to have to do is look this up in Google Maps, and they're going to see that you put a dumpster there and that you didn't pull a permit. What's wrong with you? More down to get better cash flow. Nope. I'm not trying to skew numbers to get a great deal. I want to do 3.5% down. Cause if that's the case, if you have more money to put down, I wouldn't do an FHA. I'd do a conventional. That's what I would do. Yep. Phil Nealon. Yep. Keep the cash for your just in cases. That's exactly right. Oh man, golly, that was a big jump. Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Matt. You're welcome. From Mr. Nice Guy. Terry Ballu, tax values here in Atlanta tend to never reflect real market value. Most markets in the US. You know why? It's really, really, really expensive for cities to accurately tab market value. And then everybody's going to complain about them anyway. Ninja Vanish, you should make skits where one of you comes on as a crash pro. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's gonna get me in so much trouble. Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea. It's actually a pretty good idea. I think we had talked about it, but I think there were certain people that didn't want to participate in that. But yeah, I think probably one. Yeah. Yep. Dung Tai is in upstate New York. That I remember. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's upstate New York. Terry Ballu, most appraisals go through an AMC. Yep, before the lender client receives them. That's right. That's exactly right. Yep. Pallavi, what's your advice about kind of insurance for unoccupied, non-operated motel and land, 5-bedroom house and small 2-bed, 1-bath apartment? Also have a wetland belonging to the property. So I would look at, that's definitely going to be a commercial type of carrier. I would look for a broker. And so once I found where the brokers are, or what the broker represents, usually brokers represent anywhere from 4 to 30 different, or they'll have an idea where you can go. Or they'll have an idea of a company that they will do that work with. So I would look at a couple of brokers, and just let them know that you are going to price it out with a couple of folks, but that you were interested. But I would look at like an insurance broker. I wouldn't look at I wouldn't look at anything other than a broker, because a State Farm, any of these types of places, nah. Anything like State Farm is fantastic on single family. They're horrible on everything else. Experience, rate-wise. All right. I got to get through the last few of these questions because I got to go take a break before my 1:30 with my amazing students in the boot camp. Lumberjack, Landlord. Oh, shit. Now what? Laura Samaniego, the ADU guy is great, sharing his knowledge. Yep. I'm looking forward to the interview, Matt. Thanks so much for taking the time to educate us. I keep learning so much from you. I'm very glad, Laura. Thank you for saying. Yeah. He's awesome. I really like him. Separated at birth. I kind of feel like the Danny DeVito in that situation. Let's see, where'd I go? Sano Gabo. Hi. Why appraisal aren't completely completely equal per feet? My neighbors are the same style as my house, but my house is worth less within 30K and mine is upgraded in comparison. So this is the exact science. This is exactly the issue. If you were the neighbor with a higher tax bill, you can actually go and apply for what's called a tax abatement to get them to reduce your taxes. The problem is that you have to prove in an abatement that the other ones around you are significantly less than you and that you are a like property. It literally, there is no science whatsoever. They could have upgraded, made yours nicer without a permit. They could have done a permit, but the permit at the time was drastically undervalued for what the work was being done. There's 1,000 different reasons that your house could be assessed for 30K less than your neighbors. At this point, just smile and take the lower tax bill, because the assessment has nothing to do with what it will sell for. You can put your thing on the market with your neighbors, and if you're both in the market the same thing and you have nicer amenities than he does and you're the same price, yours sells first. Hopefully that helps. Matthew Paris, I approve this message. 800 credit score curse, that is. Thank you. I appreciate that. I've seen it consistently. To the point where we were literally like, we will take somebody with a 720 credit score over someone with an 800 credit score. We just will. And we have the choice. We have the ability to do that. We don't have to pick the one with the 800 credit score. Jacob, make extra money for rental down payment by starting a parody cash bro channel. Ideas. Oof. Yeah, I don't need the money that bad. Bajan Sonic, what's your opinion on seller financing? Love seller financing. Best in the business in my eyes. Cody and Christian, best in the business, seller financing. Those are the guys to watch. They're just really good at what they do. I mean, they've got over 100 units. And they have not brought a whole lot of money to the table to have over 100 units. I know they brought a lot of money to the table, but they have a really fantastic program with how they actually get investors to give them the down payment. So there's still no money out of pocket. Just saying, they're dialed in. They're dialed in. Yep. They're very good. Ryan Allen, I have mine locked because of a bad experience with a previous tenant, only one thermostat in the duplex. Yeah. The only challenge with that is that you do have to maintain a certain temperature level in their unit, or you're in violation of housing law, just as an FYI, but I doubt you'd ever have it get there. Laura Semeniego, I agree with Matt 100% on 800 credit score or renter in the AB neighborhood. They are very demanding on all minor things like dry drops of paint on the wall. Yep, they have a high sense of entitlement. There you go. Bajan Sonic, I'm young and don't have too much money. I did just sell some land though. Oh, very good. That's further ahead than most people. The thing that I would tell you right now, Bajan, is I would be spending a ton of time consuming content. That's what I would do. I'd be watching, all the 4 REI Avengers, Millennial Mike and markets and daily financial news from Michael Zuber and Dion Talk Financial Freedom. I would be watching all 4 of our channels because I think we all bring something different to the table. And then Cody and Christian multifamily, again, they are the best example of no money and still doing real estate deals. So I would watch those 5 channels, and it's a lot of watching, but you'll definitely get the biggest value. I think for you, you'd probably get the biggest value out of Cody and Christian and Dion and Mike, Millennial Mike to start, probably, only because they were kind of in that no money camp when they started. And once you start managing, then I'm kind of your guy. BF, happy Sunday, Lumberjack. You as well. Rents are due in 3 days. Yes, they are. It's so true. 68 minimum in me, set to 69. Yep. In Maine. Yep. Also listen to Maskey Finance. Maskey's all right, but I think a lot of that information you can get from Millennial Mike. Yep. I think I like Mike's business better. Tyler LaBelle, assessments are done every 4 to 8 years, depending on county. They are done in mass, not individually. That's correct. Except some places are different. Some are 3 and some are actually 5 years. Because yeah, mine's 5 years. Yep. How long do you live in your first few house hacks? I was literally 12 to 18 months in every single one. Yep, 12 to 18 months. Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Good morning, Lumberjack. Have a great day and week. Salitha Berry, you as well. Scott Coleman. I've seen you on a lot of the other guys' channels lately. It's very good. You're a walking value, and thankful for you all. Go Red Wings. Hey, I like the Red Wings too. They're a great team. And more importantly, they got Steve Yzerman at the helm. I'm concerned about the Red Wings long term. Love what the Bruins are doing. Hopefully we win a cup this year, like the last couple of trades that they made, but the Red Wings are no joke. They are a threat to be reckoned with because they got Stevie Y in the head office and his drafts have been flawless. All right, guys, I got to cut it off because I got to get ready for my students in boot camp. You guys have an awesome week. As we always try and do, we try and create great content for you. Please make sure you hit that like button before you leave and think about subscribing because we're going to keep on dropping the hammer. So guys, have an awesome week and I'll update you next week on how my evictions went because we have 3 documents we're waiting back for and I'll keep you guys posted. Have an awesome week, guys. Continued great investing and hey, don't listen to the people not in the game. It just doesn't matter. Talk soon.